Welcome to Booked and Inspired, a podcast for readers and writers looking for deeper conversations around creativity and craft, where stories spark connection and your writing finds its voice. I'm your host, Holli, fiction writer, editor, and lifelong book enthusiast. Join me for your weekly bookish hangout as we discuss anything and everything from the books we love, the writing life, family, faith, and the stories we're living right now. Whether you're just drafting your first novel or love getting lost in a good read, this podcast is for you. So let's get booked and inspired. All right, today, author Kendra Broekhuis is here. Kendra writes stories on life's heavy stuff with a dose of humor and a lot of love. She is the author of the novels Nearly Beloved and Between You and Us, as well as the fiction book Here Goes Nothing, an introvert's reckless attempt to love her neighbor. For her day job, she stays home with her 4 kids and drives them from one place to another in her minivan. She and her family live in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Kendra, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Holly. It's a joy.
You are so welcome. I really wanted to just dive right in. I want to get to know you. I just want to hear your origin story as a writer. Like, is this something that you always dreamt of doing? Did you write as a child? I would just love to hear your origin story. So I'm going to give you the floor.
Wonderful. I would not say I always dreamt of being a writer. I can definitely look back and see how creativity and writing and drawing and art has always been a big part of my personality and just something that I love. But I went to school for elementary education and then ended up teaching first grade for a couple years before I started having kids. So I just didn't even have writing in my thoughts at all as something that I could do as even a part-time profession. So that
Wow.
was definitely like a life pivot that I didn't see coming. But I started writing. So after I graduated college and got
Mhm.
married, my husband and I moved to Guatemala for
Mhm.
3 years, and that's where we were teaching and working at a school there. And so it's like, well, you move overseas and you start a blog, right? That's the natural progression of things. So I was keeping that blog just to keep in touch with family. But then we had our first baby while we were living in Guatemala, and I just realized that as I was staying home now as a stay-at-home mom with her, but also a little bit isolated as a stay-at-home mom where we were, that I was like, writing was just so much more to me than just, keeping in touch. It was like, this is how I'm really processing my life right now. Like becoming a mom, which was just a huge shock to my system. I thought I would know what I was doing, and I did not know what I was doing. Just processing life overseas, processing our move back from Guatemala to the United States, and all that culture shock. So yeah, that was where I realized oh, writing means a lot to me. And I had been sharing quite a bit online at that point too, just on my personal Facebook page and again just through blog articles and things like that. But I just realized this is something that I really like. I realized that it's just like this, people are also saying that they're enjoying this, like being able to articulate their experiences through my writing was kind of the ministry side of that. So that was where I was like, okay, I think I want to try and pursue this for a while professionally and see what that looks like. So when we moved back to the United States, that's when I started um, really trying to set myself up for, seeing if I could pursue publishing. So then it was like, all right, let's get a website. Let's get a Facebook page instead of just my personal page.
All the things.
Um so yeah, just kind of setting myself up for that. But the hard thing was then at that point, I had really just set myself up. I was starting to, send my book proposal out to agents, just getting a lot of rejections at that point. And a lot of times a lot of authors will understand this lingo, your platform's not where it needs to be to pursue publishing. Um, so I'm right at that point in my life in a writing on the writing side of things, and then on the personal side of things, we were pregnant with my second baby and
Oh.
found out that she was not expected to live at that point.
Oh.
So at our 20-week ultrasound. So it went from, okay, this is this thing that I really want to pursue, Lord, to okay, your life just halts
Right.
with the real life things going on. And
Mhm.
so I was sharing more about that as well. Just what that was, what that was like to go through and the grief of that
Mhm.
pregnancy and eventually losing her.
Absolutely.
And yeah, from there, it was, I know, I kind of like don't like talking about platform for that reason. I feel like it's something where it's like, my platform grew and I was sharing about like my life's worst grief.
Right.
Um, but
But
that was,
I
yeah.
think that I want to say that I think that one, it takes a lot of courage to share things like that. And I'm sure you've probably had so many people that have probably contacted you or stories where it's like it meant a lot to them because it's something maybe that they went through too. And so it's like
Mhm.
I always feel like, the Lord uses those things in our lives. It's like He brings something beautiful out of even things that are so difficult and hard.
Mhm.
So,
Yes. Yeah, and that was like for me again it was like I'm just processing my I'm
right.
processing my life right now. But I do agree. I do like it was like a ministry in its own
Hmm.
way to know to other people who had gone through it but maybe hadn't processed
Hmm.
in the
Yeah.
past. And just yeah, speaking to a lot of women who've gone through this before. So, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. So then during that time when you were just relating with so many people, you began to sort of have a bit more of a platform or that things started to grow. And so did you just sort of like re-query the same agencies or the same publishers, or did you actually kind of pivot and find a different agency or different people to actually go with at that point when you felt like you were ready again?
I went back to one agent first because there was one agent in particular who was
Mhm.
like, you know what, I really like your writing. I don't think that your platform is ready,
Mhm.
but here are some things that you can do. And she even like she took a phone call with me. Like
Wow.
there's just things where it was like, oh, she went above and beyond to be like, I want to honor where you are right now and say I like your writing, which is even just wonderful to hear.
Yeah.
So it was like, so I had queried a lot of agents, heard mostly no's,
Hmm.
or all no's at that point. But I was like, before I again like requery just a whole nother group of agents, I'm gonna go back to just her first and be like, here's where I'm at now.
Mm.
And so that was the agent that I eventually signed with,
Wow.
Tamala Murray, who,
Hmm.
yeah, again, just love her.
Aw.
And it was so grateful that I was like, again, she was helping me even before I was ready. She was like helping me be
Yes,
ready.
she was advising, really, and she was doing that
Hmm.
job of like an agent and an editor that's like, okay, here's what you need to do, or here's what you need to focus on. That's so
Hmm.
awesome. I feel like that's, to me, it's like those things are not coincidence. It always just feels like the Lord puts the right people in your path and the right connections and things at the right time. I
Hmm.
think that's so awesome.
Yeah.
So what was the process like then when were you with this agency for your nonfiction book, or was that a different, have you been with this agent and this agency the whole time?
Yes, yep. My
Okay.
whole author career I've been with the Steve Lobby agency,
Wow. Wow.
with Tamala. So the
Hmm.
nice thing was that so she signed me.
Hmm.
She, got me a nonfiction contract for my book about loving your neighbor as an introvert,
Hmm.
which again feels lifetimes ago now that I'm like pivoted to fiction. But yes, Tamala was able to stick with me, thankfully, because when I did make that pivot to fiction, she was like, "Oh, actually, that's even more in my wheelhouse than your nonfiction work." So I mean,
Wow.
she everything is her wheelhouse. Like she's just really great. But she would say that she yeah, is really strong in the fiction world.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. And how
Hmm.
nice to be able to have stayed with the same person and build relationship and have somebody kind of coach you even in like different genres that you're working on.
Hmm.
I had the privilege, I'll just tell the audience that I had the privilege of being on your launch team for the new
Yes.
book, Nearly Beloved, which was it's such a cool experience. And I remember you sharing a story in one of the emails about how you had had a completely different idea for a new book. And and it was like your agent came back to you and said, I'm not sure if you should go this direction. Would you tell that story just of how sort of the idea for this new book came about and what that was like for you, sort of just pivoting from something maybe you had already been like working on a little bit or thinking through, you know what I mean?
Yes, I'm happy to. And I love it because it does like pull the curtain back on publishing a little bit, which I
Yeah.
think is so fun. And again, just like acknowledges just you just have to have a little bit of agility in this
Yes.
creative world. If you're, working with a traditional publishing house, you just have to be a little bit flexible with these things, which I appreciate because I do like working
Mhm.
as a team on a project, and that is what a traditional publishing house offers. Like I feel like I'm working with a team. So anyway, so they had my publisher is Waterbrook, and they had signed me for two books. So they bought my debut, which is my debut novel called Between You and Us,
Yes.
plus one book. So at
Wow.
that point, when I signed this contract, we had not agreed what the second book would be about. It was just like, we'll get to that when we get to that. So I went through the whole, um, editing, publishing not quite releasing Between You and Us, but when I
Hmm.
was done editing Between You and Us, then my editor and I sat down and we're like, all right, what do we want your second book to be about? And I had been working on things. I had some ideas. I had like a couple ideas that were like, really not fully baked at all. Like I have a title, I have a premise that's literally like a paragraph of a premise. And then I have this third idea that has like fully outlined 10,000 words. Here you
Yeah.
go. It's called Nearly
Oh.
Beloved.
Uh-huh.
So that was what I was handing in. And obviously I'm like, this is what I want to go with. But again, wanting to show flexibility, some range, I have
Sure.
options here. And my editor was like, took these ideas back to the whole publishing board because it's not just her decision either. She is kind of like between me and then the whole editorial board at the publishing house. So
Mm.
went and talked to them and came back and was like, so your idea for Nearly Beloved is too murdery, was
Oh.
how she put it. So I had come up with a story about three people, three strangers,
Mhm.
who are forced into witness protection as a family. Was the idea for this story.
And they don't know each
Um,
other. So
they
they,
don't know each other, so just
oh,
like
wow.
circumstance forces them into witness protection program as a family. Budget cuts and all that. So, anyway, like a quirky, fun idea, but the genre for this story was more, I would say, romantic suspense.
Mm,
And my debut novel was like hard women's fiction.
mm,
Like there's some like other genres in there too. Like there's magical realism in it,
mm.
yes, a romance thread, yes, but it's like really women's fiction.
Okay.
So when my editor came back and was like, this is too murdery, like what she was actually saying is like, you need to stick, like, as we're growing you as an author, like, you need to stay within your genre.
Okay.
Like, and then let's talk about this. Like, what genre do you want to see yourself in? Like, do you want to be like all magical realism? Do you want to,
Mm,
pivot to something else? And I was like, I like women's fiction at this point. I feel like it is a wide range, even if it's, doesn't include murder. Like, I do like that genre. So I re-outlined this Nearly Beloved,
mhm.
still similar like premise, but just trying to take out some of the, darker aspects of it. Turned it in again. We went back and forth a couple times, and then finally she's like, okay, like what if you take this story and even take these themes, like these themes of community and belonging, and you make it about this woman who finds out like that there's a DNA mishap in her family,
Oh gosh. Okay.
finds out that she's not biologically related. My editor was like, I know people who have gone through this, like with ancestry, this is becoming a big thing. Like
Hmm.
with ancestry tests, this is becoming a big thing. Like family surprises pop up. And so I like obviously I had to sit in the sting like for a minute of like my idea is not going to work. Like you got to let it go, let it go. I always give myself a day to feel sad. And then the next day it's like, all right, yes, that makes perfect sense. Let's do this. And now we have Nearly Beloved, which was just published.
I know. And I mean, you had such a launch week, which we're going to get to because I want to hear about, how the launch week went for you and even how it was different in comparison to like the other book. But when you said that about just how you had to sort of let the idea go and then start kind of fresh or new. That was a subject, like the whole DNA mishap thing. Was that something that you had experience with or didn't really know a whole lot about? Did you have to do a lot of research? Like how did you kind of get your frame of mind in now you're going to be writing this other story, you
Mhm.
know?
Yes, it was a lot of research, so it was not something that I had personally experienced. I did take an ancestry test, because I was like, I do want to know what this is like. Like, I want to know
Okay.
what it's like, doing the actual test and getting the results in my email, like all these things. So,
Mhm.
there were no DNA surprises. My parents are my biological parents, which I did learn. So when a person goes through this, when they, take a DNA test or, have something else where they find out the person they assumed is their biological parent is not their biological parent, that's called a non-paternity event. So that was something that I learned throughout this process. So
Mhm.
I did not have a non-maternity event. I did have other things that were just interesting that dug in more to like maybe family secrets that were like, oh, like I found this out through Ancestry, or this is like different than what the family stories that I had been told. Like
Wow.
even so random, but like I had a great grandmother who we had, been told family stories of like about what happened during her tragic death. But when I like was looking at her death certificate online, it seemed like the cause of death on her death certificate was different than what I had been told. So it was just like this interesting, even like, okay, mom, like let's compare notes here of like what you shared with me and what I'm like seeing on this legal document. Like
Oh
these
my
things are
goodness.
different. So there, I mean, there's this phrasing in like the DNA world of like, people lie, legal documents lie, but
Mhm.
DNA doesn't lie. So just again, this idea of like, oh, sometimes this is how family secrets happen and or how family secrets are revealed. And yeah.
Wow.
Hmm.
I have to tell you that when I started reading Newly Beloved, I was so I have this thing with every time I read, I'm so intrigued by how the books begin. It's like I'm so intrigued by how writers sort of, you know, zone you into like this first scene and how they decide to start, you know what I mean? Like I
Hmm.
just love book beginnings because I usually can tell in the first like little bit if I'm like, oh, I'm going to be into it, like, oh, this book is for me, and so the way that you started, and I also loved that throughout the book you had different formatting in terms of like there were emails and text messages, and it was very like relatable in terms of like our digital world and like how things might unfold as we are looking at email or we're sending an email or we're texting somebody or that kind of stuff. And so I loved that. But in the beginning, that first scene where it's like, I mean, she's literally opening an email, and then to like all of a sudden you realize like where she is, that like she's at her father's funeral, and she it's like at their it's like at the parents home and about to go to the funeral, and it's like I was just like, oh my gosh, like I just so I was like, when you agreed to be on, I wanted to ask you, was that like pretty early on? Did you just have a vision for how you wanted to start this book, and or did you have several drafts before you kind of landed on, okay, this is the scene, like this is how it's starting?
I do think that I wanted it to start really in the action, which
Hmm.
is tricky because it's like you want, for fiction, it's like you do have to kind of connect readers with who this character is before you're totally throwing them in into their story. And I would say like that is like something that's like this is really towing that line. Like
Right.
we're really just starting here
Hmm.
and then kind of getting to know Dylan in the midst of this.
Yes.
Um which is yeah, a little bit of a unique choice, but I do think I don't know, that first chapter is something that I think gets edited the most of all the chapters because it's like this is my first impression with readers and I want to make an impression. Like, I want them to be drawn into the action really
Hmm.
quickly to get this story moving. I do feel very particular about even like the very first line of the story. Like I rewrote that so many times, and then you read it, and then you've read it so many times that you're like, this doesn't make any sense to me anymore. And then again, that's when you like need to put your editor on these things because it's like I've looked at this too much to really even know
Yes.
if this is good or not anymore.
Hmm.
So I do very much like even every chapter, I'm like, what is the very first line of this chapter? What is the very last line of this chapter? And they need to be bangers. Like they need to
Right.
be something that like keeps people reading and keeps making people want to go to the next page.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
So
am.
I do think I was like, yes, I want to start in the action and edited that chapter so many times still.
Well, that was one of the things I noticed the most. And obviously, like, I'm in an MFA program right now, so I'm having to read, like, write or read. So I'm having to, like, read with like this mindset of like, ooh, how did the author do that? Or, oh, wow,
Mhm.
okay, there's the emotional depth right there. It's like you're having to like be trained to sort of notice those things. And that was one of the things that I noticed was like, and really throughout the book, you did such a great job of um, like there was an emotional depth that wasn't too dark, but also was enough that like you could relate with this character, even if you had never had this kind of experience. It was like to have something revealed to you after the person is already gone and now you can't have a conversation with them and then to have to confront lies and things and also the first chapter I thought was so awesome how not only did we were like kind of plunged right into the action and also the conflictedness of Dylan, but then you got a glimpse of like her and her mother's relationship and the strain there, you know what I mean? And sort
Mhm.
of like even her mother's friend and the like there's obviously something that isn't being said. There's a full story that she isn't being told. You know what I mean? And it's
Mhm.
like it was such an amazing way to just sort of breadcrumb those little details here and there that
Thank you.
kept me reading. You're a phenomenal writer, Kendra. I love, love, love your book. So
Thank you. That means a lot. You just like complimented all the things that I really hope for this story.
yeah.
So that really means a lot. So
Oh,
thank you.
I'm so glad. You're welcome. So, what was the process like? How did this book differ just in terms of like your debut novel? I mean, obviously,
Mhm.
at the beginning of like releasing a fictional novel and a debut, it's like there's probably a whole different set of nerves and a whole different set of like
Mhm.
expectations or just like expectations of yourself and all of that. How was this launch different than launching your first book?
Oh, I think when it comes to the actual like publishing side of launch, like that is the part that's honestly a lot harder for me than
Mm.
the writing, editing process. I find a lot of joy in that
Yes.
um side, like just the writing and craft side of things. So I do feel like when it comes to the publishing, launching side, there's just a lot of nerves. There's a lot of like, oh, the public facing side of things is not what comes naturally. I think that's why I wrote my first nonfiction book was about, being an introvert. I just feel like
Yes.
that's just kind of what makes some of the publishing stuff hard.
Mm.
However, I do think when it comes to just the two stories are really different and just how they were created and crafted was a lot different.
Uh-huh.
I mean, with my debut, that was the first novel I had written.
Mm.
And so it was a lot of like, I'm trying this and I'm hoping this works. I don't know what I'm doing, but I love writing. And I had been writing for 10 years. So it's not like I had not been writing at that point, but it's just a whole different fiction. It's just a whole different craft. So it's like, I
Yeah.
want to learn this, but I'm going to learn by trial and error.
Yes.
Whereas I do think I went into like crafting Nearly Beloved with a lot more like, all right, I want to also be educating myself on some of the science and math of this creative art a little bit too. So I myself am definitely a planner versus a
Mm.
pantser. Like I do
Mhm.
like to outline what is going to be in my story. Like I want to feel confidence that I have enough material to work with to fill out, 90,000 words of a story. So I did that with Between You and Us. Like I had that fleshed out, but I do think for Nearly Beloved, it was a lot more like also I'm really working hard on my pacing. Like I really want like these plot points to come out at this word count, like to be even that specific of like really wanting these, 15 major plot points to be pushing readers through the story. So that was a big, I would say a big change. I mean, I feel like most authors have heard of this, like Save the Cat writes a novel,
Yes, I
like
just read
that.
it.
Okay, yeah.
I just read it. I literally just
Okay.
finished reading it last week, and I was just like, this is like the answer to all of the
Yeah.
plot issues that I've been having with this novel thing that I've been working on for the last 2 years. You
Yeah.
know? So,
And yeah, that felt like the same for me too, of like I have very two strong sides of my brains. Like I have the creative side and I have like the orderly side that
me too.
needs, yeah, that needs some math here.
Yes.
And I felt like, yeah, so that was like a huge help for Nearly Beloved, I would say, of like especially to help with the pacing side of things. And again, do I have enough big plot points here to
Mhm.
actually fill this story?
Now, when you plot and you work on your plot, do you have a particular tool that you like to use? Do you like traditional just notebook and paper? Do you find that you're more creative when you write it down versus like typing it? Like what's your process in terms of like actually working on a plot? And I'm asking for very selfish reasons because I'm literally in the middle of this right now.
Uh-huh.
And I
Um,
started out pantsing more, and I'm
mhm.
realizing now that like there is that analytical side to my brain too that really
Mhm.
needs a plan, and I have all these scenes in my mind, but I really need to get this organized. And so anyway, share your process,
Yes.
Kendra.
Yes. So, and I think again, that's great to like recognize like different things work for different writers, and yet
Right.
like beautiful stories are created with multiple like ways of doing it. So I hope
Yes.
that's encouraging to anyone who's
Yes.
listening, like
Yes.
there's different ways to get to like a fully crafted, beautiful story.
Mhm.
So I mean, I've always started out with like I have my laptop and I have word processor. Like that is
Right.
my tool. Because, I was living in Guatemala when I first started writing. When I came back to the States, I'm a mom with little kids at home. I don't have like any brain space for anything really fancy.
Mhm.
I need to be able to take my laptop and my work anywhere, whether it's home or a coffee shop. So it's like, for me, it's like, I need to keep this simple.
Yeah.
So for Between You and Us, it was like a Word document outline that I was continually fleshing out. And I will say there were times where it was like, okay, I feel stuck and I just need to start writing this
Mhm.
and then go back and add to my outline. So there was a little bit of back and forth of like, I'm stuck, but I do think when I start fleshing this out into actual chapters, it'll be clear where I should go next.
Okay.
Um, but for, and that was similar with Nearly Beloved. But with the one that I'm working on now, I was like, I want to do this a little more visually. So I did buy myself some poster boards and sticky notes.
I love it.
Just because it's like I want to like totally brainstorm, but also feel like I can move things around and then see the
Mhm.
whole picture.
Yes.
So again, I did a lot of this work at the library because I would have a babysitter one day a week and then I would
Mhm.
go to the library. But I was like hauling my poster boards and sticky notes to the library and
I
like
love
spreading
that.
out.
I love that so much.
So yeah, and then
Oh my
eventually
gosh.
putting it into Word. But
Right.
yeah, I did like that. But I do think eventually I just need it in a document on my computer so it can be taken anywhere.
So that you can look at it. That's so awesome. Oh my gosh. Well, okay, so that kind of segments into some questions I had for you about sort of your writing life or like your writing life as an author. And I wanted you to just tell the audience a little bit about that. Like, everybody is so different. And I love, if I'm listening to podcasts or reading books or even just discovering online, everybody has sort of different aesthetics and different things that really inspire them and different, things that they do as a writer, whether it's writing at the same time every day or taking a walk or just things like that. What are some of those things for you as a writer? Just sort of like the aesthetics, or what do you need every day to sort of like get you going? Do you write every day?
Oh,
I
it
know.
depends. It
Yeah.
depends. So I would say, like right now, kind of in the middle of launch stuff, this is where I feel the limits of my brain.
Mm,
And like my brain doesn't always do great at like trying to do multiple things at once. So I've kind of had to accept that a little bit and then to be okay, like, okay, some
yeah.
of my writing is slower than I would like because My plate is full. Like I do have 4 kids who are between the ages of 4 and 12 right now.
Ooh,
And that is so much easier than the baby stage in trying to write, like to be clear. Sorry,
sure,
5 and 12. Just had a
sure.
birthday. um, but I do think that like, okay, so I'm kind of acknowledged the past couple months, like I'm really building up the marketing phase and kind of prepping stuff for marketing. And I'm on Canva a lot,
Yes.
doing stuff like that. And then in a couple weeks, I'm really going to dig into just kind of being like the feral rat who's like writing, holed up in her room, just writing a lot.
I love
So,
that.
I do think it goes in phases a little bit. I do think that helping me write um like daily, like when I am in one of those phases, means
Mm,
setting like extremely achievable goals. I'm very
mm,
goal oriented. So if it's
mhm,
like my goal today is 1,000 words, or my goal today is like an hour of just really concentrated writing time,
mhm.
even that can be more you know useful in the long run
Sure.
than just being like, oh, I need a full week of just writing time.
Mhm.
Like, I don't think that's realistic for most people. Like, most authors have day jobs and have other things that are other projects. They have families.
Right.
Like, a lot of this happens in, the cracks of the day at times. So, just setting like very achievable goals like that is really helpful.
Yeah.
My writer personality can be a little different than my like friendship personality.
Mhm,
So I'm actually really an internal processor about a lot of things.
mhm.
But I found that for writing, I am the opposite. Like I really need to outwardly process like plot points and things. So my husband has become my listening ear for that.
I
And
love it.
he's like he takes this so great. Like he's such a fun like person to brainstorm with. He'll like, when he knows what story I'm working on, he'll be like sending me articles like, oh, this is great research for this plot point. Just ways that I'm like, this is so awesome. So that's become actually like more of a marital like bonding activity, is
Oh,
brainstorming plot points with him.
I love that.
But yeah, I don't know. I do think like, I don't know, for me, and I do think for a lot of other people out there who want to write, like trying to think of how you can simplify things, because
Mhm.
it is rare that the circumstances will be perfect for you to write. Like most people don't get this like 3 month sabbatical to go write their book. It's
Nope.
just an hour of concentrated time. A
Yeah.
thousand words a day is 90,000 words in 3 months. Like just think again, do some math and what feels realistic for you.
Uh-huh. I think that's so funny that you have a math side of your brain, because that's like my day job is like finance and stuff like that. So I have like I have like a
Yes.
math brain too. It's like the
Hmm.
other part.
Yeah.
And I relate to you. I think early on, and I feel like it might be with like writers when we all first begin, we have these like things maybe that we tell ourselves. I don't know if you've ever been through this, but I know for me it was like I was more of like, oh, I need like a perfect scenario, or I need more time to sit down and write because
Hmm.
I can't get into a flow and all this. And I think over time I've learned exactly what you said, that sometimes those little bite size, just like if you can commit to 45 minutes to an hour a day, and almost like give yourself very, like what you said is so key, like attainable goals, realistic,
Hmm.
instead of telling yourself, oh, I have to sit for 3 hours and I have to write, da, da, da. And then there's so much like pressure that you feel,
Hmm.
versus like, I'm going to sit down for 1 hour. I'm going to set a timer or 45 minutes, whatever it is. And I'm just going to do this. And then I'm going to be done, because I've got other things I have to do. And I feel
Yeah.
like women, and I don't mean it like to exclude men, but I also feel like women really relate to that, because we juggle a lot of things. So we juggle between like job and then mom hat and then other hats,
Hmm.
and all the things. And so it's like to go, okay, and now I'm going to put on like writer hat and work on some things that are meaningful to me.
Hmm.
Sometimes you don't have like a whole day to just sit and write. And if you did, then, the house would blow up, or the laundry would be out of
Yes.
control, or
Yeah. The
you know what I
forms,
mean?
the school forms wouldn't be signed.
Oh my gosh, yes. How many school forms have I forgotten to sign?
Yes.
And then they're
Yes.
emailing you like, Miss Birdie, your son needs it. It's like, oh
Hmm.
my gosh, so yeah, it's like you can't
Yes.
completely check out but you also do want to give your creative life and your creative work some time. And so I think what you said is so great. And it's an important reminder for people, just like you,
Hmm.
90,000 words in like 3 months is a big deal, and
Hmm. Oh my.
it may not feel like you're making much progress when you first sit down for a week and you've only, done, 1,000 words a day. But over time, that makes a
Hmm.
huge difference in terms of like whatever it is that you're working on. So I love that. I love that advice. That is so awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, what
Hmm.
are you reading lately? So do you get time to read, and how do you sort of recharge your like creative juices, and like what are just some things that you love to do, that do kind of recharge that creativity for yourself?
Hmm. I do not read in a consistent genre, I would say.
Okay.
Because I just think, any reading is gonna like fuel my creativity.
Yeah.
But I just read as a little bit of like I shouldn't say this is like decompressing from
Yeah.
launch because it was about World War II, but my sister-in-law had shared her copy of the Book of Lost Names
Oh,
with me by Kristen Harmel, which
okay.
is historical fiction World War II.
Okay. Gonna write this.
And it was, I mean, yeah, for people who enjoy this genre,
Hmm.
enjoy other, one of my it's interesting because I was like, I don't know if I could ever write historical fiction, but some of my favorites were like, Kristen Hanna's The
Yeah.
Nightingale.
Oh,
I just feel like people who love that are going to love the Book of Lost Names. It's like
really? Okay.
very beautiful, heart-wrenching, awful story all at the same time.
I have to admit
um,
that I just now am almost finished with a Kristen Hanna's book, The Nightingale. And
okay.
literally the other night, sitting on the couch, just burst into tears. And
Yeah.
my son and my husband, and they're like, "You okay?" I'm like, this is so good. It's
Hmm.
just like, good. I love that genre. So I'm so glad that you
Hmm.
mentioned this new book because I
Yes.
really love historical fiction. So, oh my
Yes.
gosh.
So good. So I just read this lovely historical fiction book, and now I'm
Right.
reading a thriller called None
Okay.
of This Is True.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Okay,
I've
so
heard
I'm
that
like
too.
maybe a quarter of the way in, and it is
Okay.
sucking me in, I'll admit.
Really?
Um, so, oh yeah. Again, I feel like I just don't read consistent
Mhm,
genres, but I
mhm.
do love to just read anything.
Yeah, just like
Um,
read broadly, and that's going to be so
yep.
nice when I'm done with the MFA to read for the books that I want to read.
Yes. Hmm.
Because you're having
Yep.
to sort of read more things that are being told that you have to read, and you're having to analyze and do all that stuff. And so I have like a TBR pile. It's like, I mean, not just one pile, like 10 piles of books.
Yes.
It's just like I
Hmm.
really want to read, and I'm getting
Hmm.
there, and I feel the same way. It's like I'm not a consistent reader in terms of like staying in a genre. I love to like read
Yes.
different things because I feel like that really
Hmm.
does help you. And two, I think reading different authors, you are able to sort of like get different experiences of different voices and the way different authors, drive plot. Not everybody does it the
Hmm.
same. And the way different authors develop characters and how people do that. I find that so interesting. And that's the like analytical math part of my
Hmm.
brain that loves
Yes.
to like analyze that stuff.
Yes. Uh-huh.
So, oh my gosh.
And I
Now,
just find,
okay,
yeah, and it's like you're
go
saying,
ahead.
like it's so encouraging. Like it's
Yes,
encouraging to be like, look at all the different ways that people do this and still suck
yes.
me into this story.
Yes, I agree with you. Oh my gosh, yes.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so when you do sit down to write, though, do you need like a morning? Do you need an afternoon? Or are you just like wherever you can fit it in, that's where you write? Like,
Hmm. I have just entered a totally new phase of life where all of my kids are in school.
okay.
So this is, and I do have, I mean, my bio is mostly true. I do have another day job as well. I
Okay.
work a couple days at my church,
Oh,
um,
cool.
which is great. Again, like totally gets at a lot of the math side of my
Yeah.
brain, like as
Yes.
you mentioned, just
Yes.
like emails and announcements and that kind of
Yes.
stuff. So, but now it's like, okay, now I do have these days that have more, like concentrated time
Mhm,
of writing. And I
mhm.
do think I'm like sometimes I'm like, oh, maybe I'm just lazy. Like I'm not really a morning person. I'm not really a night person anymore. I'm like a 10 a.m.
Right, 10 a.m. That's so me, Kendra. It's so funny because I don't know if that's just like as you get older or what that's about, but like I'm not really like morning, and also by like 9 o'clock, I just want to go to bed.
Yeah.
You
Yes. There's
know?
a window.
Yes, there's like a very like small window in that little, area, which is that has been
Uh-huh.
challenging because I've been like, okay, trying to write consistently when you're also in school and working. And it's like
Yes.
some people are like, oh, well, you can get up at 4 a.m. or get up. I'm just like, I cannot get up at
No.
4 a.m. I cannot get up at
No,
5.
Holly. You cannot.
I can't. It's not happening. Like,
Yes. Uh-huh.
but so
Yeah.
I relate with that it's like if you can fit it in and it's like a decent time of day, that's really good, and some weeks
Yes.
it's like if I could just get 1 or 2 writing days in, that's doing
Mm-hmm.
really good too.
Yeah.
So,
So yeah, and like I said, like again, I've been in this time of like preparing for launch, so I
yes.
feel like I haven't fully experienced like what is the writing life like
Uh-huh.
when you're not launching and you're simply writing. But
Yes.
it's still just so it was a long haul of like this is always during my kids'
Mhm.
nap time or in the evening. My
Mhm.
husband's a teacher, so he's
Mhm.
always, lesson planning and grading at night. So I'm next to him writing.
Writing, yeah.
So just feeling like it's a different stage and
Yeah.
like letting myself be excited about that
Oh, I
because
love that.
it's a long time of like little kids and not always getting to like honor the hobby as much as
Sure.
you would like.
Yes.
But I mean, still up until this point, like I don't know. I've only been able to do what I have done because of my husband. It's a
Oh,
helping with the kids,
yes.
honoring these dreams and goals that I have,
Mhm.
and getting me some of those extra writing hours for sure.
Oh, that is so awesome. That's so
Mhm.
well, your book is amazing, and I hope that people will go and get it and just really get immersed in your beautiful writing, because you're so talented. I was just blown away. I just absolutely loved the book. So I think if there was, anything that you I'm trying to like end these podcasts with some sort of encouragement for other people, because one of the things that I really appreciate as a writer that's in the beginning of my journey and stuff like that is when I listen to podcasts or I come across content that other people that are ahead of me are sharing things like some sort of encouragement, and it means a lot. Even from a podcast that where you don't even know the person, but to hear some sort of an encouragement or something. And so I was thinking I may just end all of the podcasts by asking the guests, like, if there's just one thing that you would want to say to another writer who is beginning, or who is, maybe they're in a frustrating time of their journey or whatever, what is like one piece of encouragement that you could give them just from your experiences?
Hmm. I this is not from me. I was part of a cohort with author Camille Pagan
Oh,
this past year or through this year, about with a group of career novelists, and her,
yeah.
kind of mentoring, teaching us like what does it take to be in this career long term. And I just think something I keep going back to is like thinking of this career very much as a long game.
Mm,
I think that especially in a social media world, like we want insta famous, we want insta
right.
success, and just as an author, that's not real for
Mm,
like most people. And so I just think that seeing this as a long thing, like
mm.
I've had so many of my own ups and downs. I keep a journal that's really just my writing ups and downs. Like that's just between me and the Lord of like,
Yeah.
these are my frustrations. This is like my elation of how excited I am. And just so I can look back on that. And it's like, it's a 12-year-old journal that I looked back on just the other day because I'm like, I
Oh.
gotta add to this thing now of like, but that was like 12 years of ups and downs of the long game so far.
Okay.
And through that time, I've not lost the love of writing.
Oh,
So it's like, okay, that's still here. That's a really good
yeah.
sign, I think, even through these ups and downs.
Yes.
And to honor that, because it is so easy for every author to like look at the people who are ahead of them and be like, how can I get there? You know, like, or why am I
Sure.
not there
Mm-hmm.
at this point?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, just accepting like this is a long game. Like you're not putting all your eggs in one story. You know, that's why it was part of me that was able to let go of my other story. It's like I can write a different story. Like I can write lots of stories and come up with lots of things and just being excited about again, hopefully writing many stories, being in
Mm-hmm.
it for the long game versus and then like learning some of those coping skills of how to be agile in this industry
Yeah.
um, is important, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I said that was the last question, but then I also thought, what are you working on now?
Yeah.
Are you taking a break? Are you just sort of enjoying sort of like the letting everything settle from the book, or do you always have things that you're working on? Like how is that going for you right now?
I do always have things I'm working on, which is
Oh, that's
so fun. I, whenever when I hand in my manuscript for editing, sometimes it's like a couple months before you get it back. So that's usually, that becomes my brainstorming the next project phase, and outlining time. So I am about halfway through a third novel,
awesome.
which I am excited about. It's about
Great.
a family who moves into a strict HOA neighborhood, and on the first night that they're moved in, the house next door burns down. So it is, I would say the thing that makes it a little bit different than Nearly Beloved, it's more like a quirky dramedy, like
Okay.
a whole like fun cast of neighbor characters and
That's
yeah,
fun.
just like heartwarming, heart-wrenching, all the
Oh.
things. And yeah, like juicy neighborhood drama, like,
I love that. Oh
so
my gosh.
yeah,
Well, I will be posted for
yeah.
when news of this new book comes out, and hopefully you can be a regular and just come back and talk about all your books and your writing life and all the things. I have loved getting to talk to you today, and you have no idea just what this means to me. I'm in the beginning of my journey and had a vision, for a podcast and just wanted to start something, and so. You are the first to agree to come on, and I'm excited about, like just getting to know people and and I was so excited to get to know you. And so I'm just so grateful that you would spend some time with me this morning.
Oh, you're awesome, Holly. Thank you so
Oh,
much for having me. This is so
yeah.
great.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, I am going to sign us off then, and hopefully we will be hearing more things to come from you really soon, Kendra. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.